Hey guys, what's up? This is Neena Perez and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Thank you so much for being here. As you know, we are here to discuss life topics to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. And today I have somebody, I'm just like in love with this woman. She's such a great woman. Her name is Kharina Kharran and she's a trauma survivor turned certified trauma coach. Don't you love that when somebody takes something that was supposed to destroy them and turn it into their victory? I love that. So she is a motivational speaker. She's a leader. She's a business owner of Kharina Kharran CPTSD, which I want you to explain that to us, Karina, in a second, and trauma coaching. And she helps these heroes desensitize unwanted emotions and sensations from, I love this, distressing traumatic memories. So you're like basically showing them how to separate themselves from that trauma to like overcome and build themselves. How are you? Thank you for being here.
I am good. Hello. It's great to be here, Neena. It's great to be here. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with your audience today. So
I'm excited.
yeah,
I'm
let's
excited.
do this.
I'm excited. Yes, let's do this because I started this show, like I said, I think it was like 2018. I started it with just me, just a monologue, talking about my life, my story, things that have helped me overcome. And then as the show started like growing, I kind of stopped it because didn't know what I wanted to do. Within the last 2 years, I'm like, you know what? I think that my story doesn't belong to me anymore. My story now belongs to others to inspire and build them up. And that's what got me on this journey which got you here today, which is I want to talk to people who have overcome, but then use that, right? To
Yes.
really impact the life of someone else. Because at the end of the day, Karina, we have to be impacting people's lives. I think that's the
Absolutely.
only way to move forward in our life, right? So
Yeah.
before we get into all the nitty gritties, I do want to know though a little bit more about you. So tell us who you are, Karina.
Okay, so I basically see myself as a really powerful human being. That's how I see myself.
That's awesome.
And it will make sense why I say that. And I say that really respectfully, really humbly as well. I'm 44 years old, female, live by the coast. And yeah, my life has been like different type of industries I've worked in: health and fitness, done personal training, MMA fitness as well, bit of cage fighting. I love a bit of a fight. I don't look like it. And yeah, I went into a financial Fortune 500 company, worked there for like 9 years, sudden redundancy last year, made a decision to go on this journey. What is this journey? To actually figure out who I am. I'll go into a little bit more. I went into really deep therapy kind of recovery kind of journey that I went on. And then I decided actually coaching is a thing that I love, but I wanted to take it to the next level because I was already doing it in the Fortune company, but there was something missing. The thing that was missing was myself. I needed to show up. I needed to know who I was and then take that to the next level. So that's a little synopsis of who I am. I was adopted, so I've got like a really, great influence, UK based, and also my adopted family are Guyanese, so the food is great, the music's great as well. So yeah,
That's
that's a little bit about me. So at the moment, I'm working as a coach, CPTSD trauma coach, specifically in the area that you mentioned earlier. But I am doing motivational talks as well, based on my story, but also whatever the workforce needs. So sometimes it's just kind of tapping into what's missing and just kind of reconnected the mindset, or taking away, the clutter from the mind. Right. So yeah, I know you know that stuff.
No, that's really amazing. You know what? I do want you to touch a little bit on what is CPTSD for those who don't know. What is CPTSD?
Absolutely. So it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So you may hear the term PTSD. Mm-hmm. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. And then CPTSD, it's the complex added to it. So the main difference, usually I say it's one event with PTSD. It can be more than one event, but it means that the events could be separated. They're not specifically overlapping. And it's usually, connected to someone at war, but PTSD is not specific to veterans or, people that worked in the military and so forth.
Right.
It can be an impact kind of injury, like a car crash, something like that. That could be PTSD, or you see something traumatic, that could be PTSD. So with the complex side, it's where the traumatic event is happening, but the individual is in in that situation again and again. They're unable to get away
Okay.
from it. That
Okay.
makes it complex, because usually the people or the person that's affecting them tends to be a family member. It's usually the case, or it's someone that's intruding into their personal space. Like, you know, if you're a child in a children's home and that person of authority is not being the person of authority, you know, they're breaking all the rules. So that would be the complex post-traumatic stress.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
No, I didn't even know that. You just educated me. I didn't know that. I always just thought about only of PTSD, right? I mean, I was
Yeah.
molested as a child and things like that. And, you know, and I have a lot of like traumatic things that have happened in my life that I kind of understood because I couldn't get away from my stepfather, right? I couldn't get away from him.
Mhm.
So I could see why you know, why the complex was added to it. I just never knew about that. I never knew that. So
Yeah.
that's a great educational tip. Thank you so much for that.
I have
So
another thing to say as well.
yeah,
It's called disorder. I don't agree with that term. I don't agree
right.
with it, because the way we react to trauma is not a disorder at all.
Mm,
And I think that,
mm,
you know, that's really important for listeners to understand, okay? Because our body's reacting in the way it should react.
right.
Just like if we saw a tiger and it's coming towards us, you know, we're gonna have the reactions. It's the same thing. You know, if someone's going to abuse you or making you feel uncomfortable or hurting a mother or a father or a child's being kicked or bullied or whatever it can be,
Mm,
of course you're going to react the way you're reacting. But then if you can't react in that moment in time, you're unable to process it. It gets stuck. That's where we hear that, getting stuck. And then years later, you tend to be able to find your voice and then, you know, go into recovery, and it's seen as a disorder. I don't agree with that. It's not a disorder.
right. Wow, that's a beautiful way to talk about it. No, really, because you're right. I think what was a disorder, if you will, was the events, the way the events happened. They
Yeah.
shouldn't have happened. That in itself is the disorder, not
Yes.
what you're reacting to, is what you're saying. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that so much. I love that so much because you know, it takes away that stigma that people already feel, right? Like
Yeah.
now you feel like you're the disorder or what you have is the disorder. That is so beautiful, Karina, because I know that for me, for many, many years, I, you know, dealt with depression and anxiety and all of that. I
Mhm.
didn't realize it's what you said though. It was stuck in me, right? I
Yes.
didn't know
Yeah.
how to process this. I felt like shameful about what happened to me, you know,
Mhm.
all that stuff. And so the PTSD, or when my therapist said you might have some PTSD from the things that have happened to you, it almost gives you permission to stay in a victim mentality,
Mhm.
right? Because now,
Mhm.
because you had the disorder. I mean, that is just, and you just like really like a light bulb just came off for me. I love the way you said that. Thank you. That
You're
is going to
welcome.
be your defining factor with what
Yeah.
everybody else is teaching. That
Yeah.
is, yeah, because that's like your niche, if you will,
Yeah.
because you're going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
teach people that they're not the disorder. I love that.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you
one.
for that.
Oh, you are so welcome. That's literally one of the
Wow.
first things when I speak to someone, even just a, like, you know, discovery call, just have a casual conversation. I let them know that if they just take that away with them, I've done my job. Like, I've done what I need to do. And
Yes.
the other thing you mentioned there was the victim. So that's going to be something I'll definitely talking about in a bit, because yes, we are a victim for a certain amount of time. We are
Yes.
definitely a freaking victim, but sorry about, but
No, go
that
ahead.
but we turn into a hero. I always say we turn into a hero. If we're still here, because those that done what they did, there's no way they'd still be here if it happened to them. Or if it happened to them, they probably doing the behavior. They've got the
Right.
disorder. Yeah. Is it their fault? Probably not, but they an adult and they know right from wrong. That's where it comes into
Right.
it. And if
Right.
you're hiding something that's a behavior you know you shouldn't be doing, therefore it is a disorder, because you know you're not
Mhm.
supposed to be doing it. But it's, you know, the kind of victim mentality. It's okay to be in that until you find the help and you get the guidance to take you out of that, because we just don't know how to. But it's
Right.
important that we do come out of it, because you don't want to be lying on your deathbed and you look back and you're still feeling bad about what's happened to you because it didn't process. Do you
Yes.
know what I mean? So we need to,
Yeah, I
you
do.
know, go to our deathbed knowing that we are heroes. See, we're heroes within our souls, and we feel good, and our energy can go back into the universe in a good way, rather than bad energy constantly coming back in when the bad ones die. So,
no, that's really powerful. And I just want to touch on that for a second, because you're right. I think one of the things that happened to me when I started to get into the personal development space is I said to myself, do I want to be on my deathbed still going through this? I don't was the answer. I don't. Right. But I know of a family member who has Alzheimer's, and she never got over it. Like, she always was hurting over it and never wanted to get the therapy and the help that she needed. Right. So now that she has Alzheimer's, it comes out now because she can't process it. Right. So she doesn't understand. But the thing is, though, Karina, so I say all that to say that what you're saying is super important, because I think we need to understand that we do have moments of our lives where we are a victim. Right. There's things that happen to us. That's what victim means. But there is something that has to change if you know that that's happened to you. Like, if you know that that's causing that, that's why you're here, to give them this, knowledge, right? So you ladies out there, or men, or whoever, you better be listening, because she's talking and she's dropping knowledge on you guys. So, all right, Karina, I want to like take us back a little bit, if you don't mind, and just like kind of tell me why, like why did you get into this? What happened in your life that you said, okay, this was horrible and I need to process this? What was that for you?
Yeah, so I will touch in onto the story, and I'll just let the audience understand that I'm going to be touching on quite high trauma. It's really important to understand that. So you're going to be listening to this. If you become overwhelmed when you're watching it or listening to it, then just pause, make sure you're okay first, take a breath, regulate, be okay, know you're safe. Then continue listening and watching, because at the end of it, there's a really powerful message, and that's quite important. But the reason why I'm here now is I've always been determined as a child to be someone. That's been the whole thing. Like, I came from a background of, like, my biological mother had severe mental illness that was not discovered or uncovered at the time it needed to. So when she married my father, it was meant to be an agreement for him to come into the country, and she should have got paid. She didn't get paid, and she got pregnant with me. They were not ready to be parents, and I'll say that really respectfully. Anytime I say it respectfully to my father, they weren't ready to be parents, but they were. And they weren't able to manage that because their lifestyle was a certain way. Then all of a sudden they had a responsibility.
Right.
So it was super tough. Now, the mental illness from my biological mum was really, really high level, and I got the impact of it. So, I was born. Within a few days of being born, I was taken into care straight away. So care's like a space, with professionals to look after children if there's trauma going on at home or abuse and so forth. So there was physical abuse happening. I got beaten up as a 3-day-old child. Like, when I read that, it actually broke my heart. And then 13 days later, day 13, it was like, again, really, severe concerns, bruising on my body. But I just kept going back to the abuse. I kept going back to it. I was left at home a lot, without, like, tied to a table, locked into a wardrobe, locked under the bed. It was really severely traumatic. She would, my biological mother would burn me, or just inflict pain, like pinching, but then say that I was being silly. Like, why are you being so silly? And then she would hug me and, like, kind of, make me feel better. So when you're that young, like under the age of 3, you don't know anything. It's just, you go through patterns and you learn pattern behaviors, right? So if it's meant to be good pattern behaviors, and then you begin to grow up and your brain is changing. But my brain was reducing. I don't know if anyone knows about trauma. Like, when you're getting impact of trauma as a child, your brain shrinks. It doesn't grow.
Oh, wow.
I think my brain's pretty hydrated now, though, I tell you.
I think so too.
So in and out of constantly in and out of care. My brother's 2 years younger than me. When he was born, she would leave me at home to look after him. My dad didn't do anything to me. He was just absent. He was just at work and just going out with his friends. So he was just absent. So we went into a children's home, like, properly to safeguard us. And then at the age of 3, I was sexually abused in the children's home. And that's not something I can really go into because it was way too, I haven't quite processed it yet, so I'm
Yeah,
like
no
working on
worries.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's that was quite devastating for me because it was happening to other girls. It was an all girls children's home. It was happening to girls, and there was nothing we could do about it. It was just this horrible feeling when I go to bed, like you never know what's going to happen next.
So can I pause you there for a second?
Yeah,
So is that where you would say the CPTSD would come in?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the CPTSD was already there with just the biological.
Right. Because you
With that
couldn't get
one.
out of it, right? I'm just trying to
Couldn't get out
have
of it.
my
Yeah,
audience understand the
absolutely.
CPTSD. Got
Yeah,
it. Mhm.
absolutely. I'll definitely recap it after to make it make
Yeah.
sense as well. So that happened in the children's home, and then there was an adopted family that me and my brother went to, but this family was like the best impact that I could have had in my life. So that was just after the age of 3. Went to there, and they basically lived on a seaside resort. So it was like fun fair. It was like
Right.
yeah, it was all rides and popcorn and candy floss and stuff. So we were suddenly in this dream world. But that gave me the power as a child to really dream big. I started believing I'm going to have a mum. I'm going to have a mum one day. And I really believed it. I created like a mum. I didn't know how she looked, but mum was going to come. Mum was going to come and save me. I always believed it. And that's what happened. So my dad remarried, and yeah, my mum came over from Guyana. It must have been quite the shock for her, from that culture to the UK, and then have 2 children straight away. That's like 6 and 4 years old. At the same time, my biological mother had another child. So I was going to visit the child. I was going to visit my brother, who I absolutely loved, and yeah, it was. What I'm going to say next is quite dramatic, but I really loved my brother. His name's Yusuf. I loved him so much, and I had that connection, that really deep connection, and I was so proud. I just had brothers everywhere. Because
Right.
my stepmom, who I call my mum, also had a child at that time. So I just had 3 brothers. I couldn't be, in a better place. Um, but yeah, my biological mother basically murdered my baby brother when he was 9 months old. So yeah, I was absolutely devastated from that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Um, and it's kind of like when something like that happens when you're a child, if you don't get the right care that's needed,
Yeah.
you go in yourself, right? Because
Mhm.
you can't go out. And I wasn't a problem child. I was a very quiet child. In general, that was just me. I'm still like that, to be honest. As an adult, I'm still quiet. But I I went through a stage, really severe depression from off
Yeah.
the back of that. Tried to commit suicide at the age of 11. I'm so glad it didn't work out. And that's where I
Me
found my
too.
connection with God. And I know not everyone believes in God, and that's fine. Sometimes we all believe in different things.
Right.
Again, it's the power of belief. Again, I
Yeah.
mentioned that because I forgave myself that day, because I realized by doing that, I would have traumatized my mum that adopted us, but
Yeah.
she done nothing wrong. And I knew that actually, if I had lost my life that day, she would never have forgiven herself. She would have went through everything of how she could have changed that moment.
Right.
So I was so grateful and so thankful to God that it didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time, around that time, I was, severely unwell, and then I'm going to bring everything together so it all makes sense as to why I'm saying the story fully. I had ulcerative colitis that then
Mm.
pushed to Crohn's disease. So that's inflammation of the bowel, just to simplify it. And that progressively got worse. So my mum, I felt so bad because she adopted me, and then all these problems came with it. But she always said to me, "It's not a problem." I won't do the accent, but she was like, "Girl, it's not a problem."
Oh, I love that.
She was like, "You're my child. I love you." I didn't, she's like, I said yes because I love you and I want you. You're my daughter. I want you in my life, and anything else we can take care of. She was always compassionate, always softly spoken about it. And just, all the money that my dad was probably working was being spent for me to go to hospital. So I felt bad, but it was important because I needed that help.
Yeah.
I then, decided to revisit my biological mum. She was meant to have life. She only served 7 years of that. And then that particular day, I decided to go. Sometimes you do things in good faith, and I still do things in good faith, despite of what happened, what I'm going to explain. because I believe everyone is good, and it's important to give people chances and opportunities. But if something doesn't feel right, make sure you go with backup. that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
now.
That's
That's what
good.
I'm like.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to visit her, just to see if she was remorseful in any way. She wasn't. But yeah, basically, I got very drowsy. The implication is that probably some kind of drug, used there, and yeah, it was basically I was raped by her husband with her in the room telling him what to do. So all of this stuff has been reported to the police. But yeah, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to come back from that. There was no
Yeah,
way.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's hard.
But somehow I did. And that's the journey. So it was years later. Bowel disease got worse. I had my bowel removed at the age of like 23, 24. So I've got a stoma now, but I'm really good friends with it because you have to be as part of you, right? But life just went on. Fell in love, didn't work out. Fell in love, didn't work out. Now I'm with the person I see as my soulmate. Things just started happening. But it was 2 years ago when I decided to report everything. I decided to go on the journey to really heal myself 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I went on that journey, and I fully immersed myself in the therapy. I went into EMDR therapy, like
Yeah.
literally fully immersed myself. Everything was about me getting myself stronger. And I've got a tagline where I say, I make me stronger. I literally made myself stronger every single day. Everything the therapist said, I would come home and do absolutely everything and more, like 10 times more. He was even telling me to slow down because I just wanted to understand everything. And then I was made redundant suddenly. And this was last year. And I thought, okay, it's my opportunity, which brings us back full circle. But it was my opportunity to actually do what I love and share my story to the world and actually impact people, even if it's one person at a time, that actually, yes, this crap happens, but we can heal from it. It's actually possible. I didn't think it was possible. I had severe anxieties. There was addiction included in that. I was just like in this horrible state every single day, like every single day. And I made that decision. Actually, this stops now because I've got this whole life ahead. I don't like wasting time, right? Don't like wasting time, but I was wasting my life because I didn't know how to not waste time, because I didn't have the recipe for it. So I needed therapy. So my brain was engaged in a different way. So different parts of my brain where it wasn't engaged because of the trauma was so trauma impacted. I needed the other part to get engaged, where I could be curious again, where I could actually believe in things, So basically the right side of the brain needed to be more engaged, and done the therapy. I'm still doing it because there's still bits that I need to work on. And I started studying the EMDR. I started studying
Good for you.
lots of other parts, that makes it all come together. Basically, everything that worked for me, that was very powerful, I took those bits and I studied it so that I could be really strong as a coach and also stand out and be different. So just pulling it all back in. That's a really, extreme example of CPTSD. And it's not easy to say, yes, I'm going to step into that journey. It takes bravery to do that.
Yes, it does.
But we all are actually brave. We've all got that bravery inside us. You just need to, I always imagine it like, look in the mirror and imagine your armor falling off of you. Yeah. Imagine that you're all, armored up with your sword and everything like that. But actually, you do not need that anymore. And look in the mirror, allow the armor to fall off of you so you can see you. You can see the real you. That's real talk.
That is straight talk for real. And there's a couple of things about you that I absolutely admire because, you seem to me like someone, and I don't know you like a best friend, but I know just from hearing your story, and I've listened, me and you have been in the same networking groups together and things. And I've always admired that about you. Like, you have a tenacity about you that's innate, right? That's like in you. Because even through all of the trauma and all that, you also said you were like a cage fighter and MMA fighter. That is a mindset of not being easily broken, right? So there's a determination in you that's like in you. That's
it's ingrained. You're right. It's ingrained. I've just always had it. Like when I was recovering, I'll give you an example. When I was recovering from the surgery, obviously I had loads of time because I had to learn to walk again. And I decided that's when I wanted to go into personal training. So I'd done all my studies while I was in like the hospital bed and stuff. And my friends were like, of all the things, like you're going for that. I was like, yes, because I will absolutely smash it. And I did. I had my own business for a small space of time. I loved it, but it was too hard for me to do because of the physical side. And, you know, I had a dream, I had a vision. I was like, I'm going to go for it. So I just done it. So yeah, there has always been this thing. Always been inside me, you know, you just keep going forward. I always imagine myself stepping forward, and if someone joins that path, we walk together forward. I never think, it's always.
No, I mean, Karina, this is what I was about to say as well. Like, one of the things that I admire about someone is when they are willing to be authentic and real about what they're going through, in spite of starting that new business, in spite of, you know, whatever. What I love is that you said, Neena, I don't want to touch on that. First of all, I respect that. I don't want to touch on that because I'm still working on it. But at the same time, you are still walking through things with people.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not waiting for you to be 100%, whatever 100% is, complete, because there is no 100% complete. And that's why I keep trying to tell everyone, this is a life journey. This is literally for life. What you're trying to do is improve yourself from yesterday. Whoever you were yesterday, improve yourself 1% today so that you can keep moving forward. Right. Absolutely. And I love that you said that. I love that you were authentic about that. Listen, guys, I'm not 100%, but I'm a lot further along than I used to be. Yes. So if you want to get a lot further along, I can help you with that. And I freaking love that. I just love you.
I love you.
You're just like an amazing.
It's so important, you know, because I've heard it so many times, but I wasn't where I am now when I was hearing it with people around me. I don't have those people around me anymore. I just don't. I have people that are like me, and we push ourselves together. And I don't mind if my friend circle is like on one hand. I would rather have that than be super popular. Like, it actually doesn't mean anything to me. I'm very like humbled and very centered. But there's so many times you hear, oh, I do want to do it, but first I need to do that. Or I don't know, after this happens and I'll do that. And I'm just like, yes, I used to be someone that said that, but you can't do that. You can't, you literally can't. And I say that from my experience, because everyone can do what they want. But from my experience, if I sat back and said, actually, I'm going to wait until my therapy is finished, which in my head, I thought, oh, it's going to be fine. It'll just be a few weeks. No, it wasn't a few weeks. It was freaking hard work. I was like,
you really think that? A few weeks?
I was like, it'll be, you know, my little curious mind was just like, yeah, I'll be fine. But yeah, I was doing the therapy. I just didn't study that part of what I wanted to do until I got through the processing. That was important. You've got to think, okay, I'm not going to damage me in this process. I need to heal me. So you've got to make sure you prioritize what you need to do, and then you go for it. But you have to take action. You have to take the steps. You can't keep thinking, I'm going to wait. No one waits for anyone.
Right.
The universe certainly doesn't. Every second we look back and it's already the past. You know, people think there's a quote from someone else, you know, you think you got time. It's like, no, we just, you know, we do have time, but we need to use that time to the best of our abilities and really enjoy it and have the best quality life we can, and really interact with the world and the universe, you know, see it, but also be part of it, you know, not just sit back and just only enjoy it. You got to give back. It's a two-way thing.
Yeah, it's like that saying, right? Life is not a dress rehearsal. You're not going to get a second chance. I mean, a second life. This is it, right? So you have to be in it to win it. You have to be in it to play your part. And I agree with that 100%. Now, I want to touch a little bit on your coaching program. So I want to know, you know, what that's about. Do you work with women and men? How is your program? What does it run? Things like that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, definitely. I work with all genders. Basically. Yeah, so all genders, there's no limitation with, you know, the gender crowd. So someone will come to me and just say, for yourself, you said about the child abuse. Can I refer to you in this?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So they'll come to me, but usually they come to me because they're having anxiety, they can't sleep. And most of the time it's because they have memories, they just can't stop the memories in their head, like what I had. And it's movies. It's like a movie. They just can't stop. And every single day it's interrupting their life.
Right.
So the journey I take that person on is, first of all, there's 3 parts to it. Is making sure they're able to feel safe and regulate. And then we go into connection. They're the 3 things that you need as part of, if you go to any therapist, any trauma-based therapist, they are the 3 so-called pillars. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You need to know that you're safe, but how do I make that person feel safe? First of all, I become friends with their nervous system. Yeah.
Awesome.
The
Yeah.
nervous system is the part that we need to be friends with in general in our lives. And a lot of the time that's forgotten about. Is that central part of you that has the emotional connection. And you're either connected to it or you're not. And if you're not connected to it, you will know, because you just don't feel so good about yourself, or you say negative stuff about yourself. That's when you know, okay, there's a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
That disconnect comes because there's a part of you that doesn't feel safe. So we need to make sure you feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically take, for the first part of the journey, I become friends with the nervous system. So I will say, Neena, listen, I'm just going to speak to your nervous system right now. Neena's nervous system. So just so you know, when you listen to my voice, this is a safe space. You're safe with me. Nothing goes anywhere else except for in this session. Then I'll say to you, does that make sense? You'll respond, and then I'll let them take a deep breath and just kind of regulate. So that's where it starts, okay? Once you get that regulation in place, then I take them into like the clients into meditative state so I can connect to them, because we work on energy.
Yeah.
And waves, okay? So I need to connect to the energy and wave. It's not I was going to say, this is science that I'm doing. It's not airy fairy stuff. This is actually working with the brain and working with the science of the brain. Once they're able to feel safe and connected, I then go into vagus nerve stimulation. So when you've got anxiety, when you feel overwhelmed, there's a certain nerve. It kind of starts around here, runs down the center of your body. That becomes kind of like, it's almost like inflames. That's not the right word, but that's the easiest way to explain it. And a lot of the time you might feel like a throbbing behind your ear, or when you get a massage, someone massage you, like a partner might massage your head, you feel this really nice relief.
Mm-hmm.
It's the vagus nerve that we're stimulating. So you feel safe, you're able to regulate, and the vagus nerve continues to regulate your nervous system. So we're working strongly with the nervous system.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Then once we've got that, then we go into the memories. So that comes first. We go into the memories. Again, it's all done safely using EFT or TFT. And that's basically tapping on certain parts of the body so that we can tap into it. So you've got the tapping in, which is different from tapping techniques. They're 2 separate things, okay? So I do both.
Okay.
We go into memories, but I join you in the memory, so you're not on your own. It feels like you're
that's
not
fantastic. Wow. Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah, because you need that help. You really, really do. Yeah, because it can traumatize you again if you're not doing it right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what happened in my therapy, but my therapist was excellent. Like, I got re-traumatized, but I knew I was strong enough to handle it.
Right.
So we worked really strongly together. But I go in the memories of that person. Now, this is the bit that's really exciting. So we rewire the brain basically together. Okay. We go into the memory. As you're going into the memory, I look at every micro expression on your face and how you're breathing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And at certain points, I'll say, just go back a little bit, go back into the room, because I want to find the feeder memory. I want to find what's the emotion that's coming through on that very first memory. And you might say to me, okay, I'll say to you, have you felt this feeling before, this emotion before? Like, let's just say fear. And you'll say, yeah. I'll be like, okay, I want you to imagine it's your 4th birthday. Just say the trauma happened when you were 5. Can you think about it? And you'll say yes or no. Okay, go back a little bit more. Can you remember your 3rd birthday? And I'll just take you back and we find the fear. And it could just be like, there was a balloon popped and it was a big bang. Yeah. And you're so small, you didn't understand what it was and it scared you. So I will detach the emotion from that memory. Then we go back to the traumatic memory. And then there are certain techniques that I then use, which stimulates different parts of the brain.
That's amazing.
You're able to rewire, is what it's called. It's the EMDR protocol, but I use different techniques combined with like rational emotive behavior, like dialectal kind of therapy approaches as well, NLP. You've got to combine it to make it work, because we're humans.
Yeah.
It's not just one approach, right? You've
That's
got to
right.
come from all angles.
Yeah.
You know, go in and make sure that that person's doing some kind of activity. It's the whole body. It's the whole body.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
That is
basically the
so
journey. Yeah.
good. That is so good, y'all. Y'all listening? That is so good. Karina, that is so good. And the reason I as you're talking, I'm just visualizing so many people breaking free, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, like my son was telling me earlier today, Mom, I don't know why I'm so afraid. I want to start my own business, but I have this inner fear. And I'm like, yeah, because your fear, those emotions are outdated. They're outdated. We got to work on that. You know, because those were things from his past, from his father, who never told him he was good enough. He wasn't good enough for anything. So
Yeah.
every time he wants to do something, he's like, I don't think I'm good enough. And that's an old thought, an old trauma, an old memory, right? And as I said to him, I said, but you have done so many amazing things up until this point. That right there is an old thought that's outdated. We have to rewire the brain and bring you back into who you really are today. And that happens for a lot of us, Karina, right? I mean, there's certain things that trigger you, and then you're like, why do I feel that? Like, I do a lot now of self-development work, right? So I mean, it's been years of it. So now when something is like triggering me, I'm like, what's up? What's up a second? Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. You know? Holy
That's what I'm
Spirit,
like. I do the hands on chest thing as well. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Then my friends are like, oh God, here she goes again.
Yeah. Or I'll get like, if I just like something triggers me and I get like angry all of a sudden, I'm like, hold on a second. Why is that emotion there? Because nothing really has an emotion. It's what you attach to the emotion, right? There's things that victimize you, of course, but I'm talking about like things that make you angry, things like that. Usually that comes from either fear or, you know, a place of insecurity or something like that. You know, anger, I mean, comes sometimes from those things, you know?
It's, I was going to say, I've written a few things here. It's, that's it. It's about rational awareness. I wanted to make sure I included that in this talk. So I'm just going to take you to that journey I was just telling you about, because the last bit I didn't mention was a connection. So just say your son, for example, it's okay for me to mention?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Just say the fear because of the father thing. So just pretend he was on the journey. So he regulates, he can connect. He regulates, he feels safe. Now, the magic happens when we release the memory, okay? When we actually detach the emotion. And he wouldn't know what's happening, because I'll just be asking questions and I'll be doing eye movement desensitization, so making him do certain movements with his eyes. Then I keep saying, I'll do 2 different techniques, depending on what he needs. Go back to the memory for me. And at the moment, 100% of people cannot go back to the memory. They can't, their brain just can't go back. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed. But if overwhelm happens because you're excited because you can't go back to it, it triggers the wrong pathway. So I've got to make sure they stay calm. I can't get excited because obviously I want to be like, yes. But I've got to be calm, because it's like, I know what their life's going to be like without that. Right. So that individual is unable to go back to memory. And then we use a scale of just like how intense is the memory right now. So when they start, it's usually 10 or 15 out of 10. It's usually very high. It's always high, actually. But then it ends up with a 1 or a 2, or they can't go back to it. So like it just becomes distorted. It's not a movie. It's just a picture. And that's when the work's done. So now they're connected to themselves. Sometimes I might need to connect to the inner child. It's so powerful. I've had couples like husband and wife been together for years, how I want to be with my other half. And it's just like disconnected from themselves because their child was severely sick when they were younger. I reconnected both of them to the birth of their child. So I took them back and they felt the birth of their child, but without the trauma. We took the trauma away from it, the impact of the emotions on their bodies. Yeah, their stories on Facebook are quite fun now. So it's great, you know. So it's not just me. It's like you've got to put the work in. It's not just the person, like the therapist or the coach. You've got to go away and think, okay, just like when you're working out, okay, my personal trainer will give me this, but I need to make sure I drink enough water, make sure I'm sleeping on time. You know, you've got to add all the other elements into it.
Yeah. Karina, this was such a powerful conversation. I don't even want to end it. I'm like, it's a long episode, but I don't care. It was, no, this was really, you taught me a lot. I learned a lot from you. I really, really, truly enjoyed this. I know that my audience is enjoying this because I have a really cool audience. I mean, they're always active, they're always asking questions,
I love
they
that.
do all of that. I know, I love, love, love my audience. So before I let you go though, I need them to know how to get in contact with you. So please let us know, like,
Yeah,
how we can support you, where we can go and look at, what you're doing, how they can work with you, things like that. Drop that on here.
absolutely. So they can pop me an email if they want, if that's the easiest thing to do. Karina at 𝑖MakeMeStrongerLifeCoaching.com. Hopefully I didn't say that too fast. I've got a
I'll put
podcast
it in the
out.
show notes.
Yeah, I've got a podcast out as well. There's only one episode at the moment, comes out bi-weekly, and that's called Rewriting Fear to Courage, the Trauma
Oh, I love
Podcast.
it.
And
I love it.
it's literally, yeah, it was an idea and I just had to do it. It was just like I had to do it.
Wow.
And it's stories of CPTSD and trauma heroes said in their own words. So no interruption by any family members, any of what other people think. This is them saying their thing in their way so they can say their truth and start their healing journey.
Wow.
It's really powerful. It's all different
Powerful.
types of trauma, including PTSD.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that's the easiest way. Hook up on Facebook and just send me a DM if that's even easier. Whatever's easy for the audience, really. You know, we're great communicators nowadays, aren't we? So
Yeah. Are you on IG as well?
I am on Instagram. Yeah, Karina_life coach.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
This was so good. This was so good. Now, I have somebody I want to introduce you to. She is a domestic violence coach, but she's also starting her podcast as well. And she does both Spanish and English audience. And I just think you would be a great guest. If you're looking to be on more podcasts, I think you would be a great guest on her show. She's amazing. And I love what she's doing because she's just starting as well. But she does a lot of these events to help women with trauma with domestic violence. That's basically what she works on, is the domestic violence piece, So Karina, I appreciate you. I love that you're here on my show. Really, I really, really do. And if you, and this is a real re-invitation, if you ever want to come back on, like to talk about maybe a new system that you're using or something, or a specific topic you'd like to talk, I know my audience would love you back because I know I want you back. So just know that that's an open invitation. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I've been listening to this podcast you got. Oh my gosh. So excited. But thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for being here, because you are like the best audience that anybody can ask for. You're amazing. I love you. I want you to make sure that you get onto my community. So go on to winject.com/register. It's absolutely free. Go on there to be part of the community, because I'm going to be downloading just separate videos and separate things on there that not everybody gets, because you actually joined my community. So thank you guys so much for being here. Like, share, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. This is Neena Perez. Exactly. Neena Perez, straight talk, no sugar added. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.